Okay, good morning, everyone. This time I'll discuss with you the continuation of the social work law. So, to recap, we already discussed the definition, including the members of the board for social work, and then we also discussed their duties and functions, their term of office, the compensation, removal of board members, as well as the examination and registration of social workers, including the scope of the examination, the ratings in the exam, and then the issuance of and revocations of the certificates. We also discuss uh, the registration of social work agencies, and so I will have to clearly state this one. So under Republic Act 4373, Article 4 is the registration of social work agencies. So under Section 23 is the registration of the social work welfare administration. So no social work agency as defined herein shall operate and be accredited as such unless it shall first have registered with the Social Welfare Administration, which shall then issue the corresponding registration certificate. So this Social Work Welfare Administration today is known as the SWD. So no other organization except DSWD can issue registration and accreditation for different social welfare agencies, may it be private or government. So these are the considerations in applying for social welfare agencies. First is that the applicant must be engaged mainly or generally in social work activities. So purely social work activities, anything that relates to social work. That the applicant has employed a sufficient number of duly qualified and registered social workers to supervise and take charge of its social work function in accordance with accepted social work standards. So take note of this, that a certain agency, a certain welfare agency cannot operate unless there is a qualified, mean to say that there are registered social workers or licensed social workers enough to take care of the clients in a specific agency, and that can also work as intended or as prescribed regarding their profession. Third, that the applicant must show in a duly certified financial statement that at least 60% of its funds are disbursed for direct social work services. So, in a social welfare agency, it is important that the budget or the funds allocated should be 60% direct to social work activities or social work services rather than other services such as payment of the employees and the like. So it should focus on the clientele improvement and or empowerment. Number four, that the applicant keeps a social work record of all cases and welfare activities handled by it. So, certain social welfare agencies should have an individual client records and updated records. When you say updated records, 3 months to 6 months update of the case study reports as well as other pertinent documents, such as their progress notes or uh, their proceedings, minutes of meetings, and the like. Section 24, the financial aid by government agency or instrumentality. No government agency or instrumentality shall give financial or other aid to any social work agency unless that the agency has been duly registered with the Social Welfare Administration or DSWD now in accordance with the preceding section. So, a certain social welfare agency cannot be aided by the government like the SWD in the event that they are not registered from such agency. Section 25, revocation of certificate of registration. So, not only for licensed social workers that the license can be revoked, but as well as also in the social welfare agency. So how do it works? So the certificate of registration issued to any social work agency may be revoked if, after due investigation, the the DSWD finds that it has failed to perform the function as social work agency, or it has violated its existing laws, rules, and regulations. Okay, so again Social Welfare Administration before, during 1965, the approval of this law is SWA. Right now, it is known as DSWD, so do not be confused about these terms. So only the SWD can revoke the specific certificate of registration from the social work agency or social welfare agency under it. So, may it be government or non-government agency. Article 5, the sundry provisions relative to the practice of social work. Section 26 is the penal provision. Any person who shall practice or offer to practice social work in the Philippines without being registered or exempted from registration in accordance with the provision of this act is being regulated or penalized. So, any person presenting or attempting to use as his own the certificate of registration of another. So, dili pwede nga other social work agency registered tapos gigamit ang ilang registration to another agency. So, it's a no-no. Any person who shall give any false or fraudulent evidence of any kind to the board or any member thereof in obtaining a certificate of registration, a social worker is also prohibited. So, take note of these areas that no specific agency or even board can, no, just such as, for example, giving of gifts to the member of the board, no, or giving the SWD some offering just to be accredited. So it's a no-no. It's being penalized. Any person who shall impersonate any registrant of like or different names. So, hindi pwede yon, no, na gagamitin yung, example, you have a twin sister or twin brother, and your twin brother is a social worker and you're using his or her name to function as such, so it's also penalized. Any person who shall attempt to use, a revoke, or suspended certificate of registration. Any person who shall, in connection with his or her name, otherwise assume, use, or advertise any title or description tending to convey the impression that he or she is a social worker without holding a valid registration. So, hindi pwede maka-operate or maka-call sa kanyang sarili na social worker unless he or she is has a license, no, as a social worker. Any person who shall violate any provision of this act, again, is being penalized. Any person or corporate body who shall violate the rules and regulations of the board or orders promulgated by it, duly approved by the President of the Philippines, for the purpose of carrying out the provision of this act, is also being penalized. Any person, corporation, or entity operating as a social work agency without a corresponding certificate of registration issued by the SWD is also being penalized. Okay, separability clause under Section 27. If any provision of this act or the application of such provision to any person or circumstance is declared invalid, the remainder of the act or the application of such provision to other persons or circumstances shall not be affected by such declaration. So, take note, no, na this law is being protected, no, the social worker is the profession is being protected at the same time the social workers as well as the agency and its clientele. Repealing clause and all acts, executive orders, rules, regulations, or part thereof inconsistent with the provision of this act are hereby repealed. Effectivity, this act shall take effect upon its approval, approved June 1965. So there are other social workers who celebrates the Social Work Day, Philippine Social Work Day on June 19, and others celebrates Social Work Day on March, no? Third week of March, considering that it is declared as the World or International Social Work Day. So that's all for Republic Act 4373. Thank you and have a great